and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, I need to move for approval of the consent agenda and our packets. There was an agreement with IDS pending our decision on looking at moving forward with a facilities building and bus barn out on the new North Campus. And then also due to the Power School data breach, an agreement with two different law firms for protection of our employees within the district.
I'll make a motion to approve.
It's been moved by Mr. Smith and seconded by Mr. Shepherd. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Next, looking for approval of the financials, January bills, which were higher than normal at $4,003,419.51, and the other financial reports which were contained in our packet.
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Lenz and seconded by Mr. Shepherd. Recognize. Any other discussion or conversation regarding the bills? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next, we need to approve the minutes of the January 14th meeting.
So moved.
It's moved by Mr. Carroll,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Smith. Moving along tonight. Are there any corrections or notations? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now we need to adopt the agenda for the remainder of the meeting as printed. I know no additions.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Carroll and seconded by Mrs. Staley.
It was Jack.
Oh, was that Jack? Excuse me. My hearing's bad on the left too sometimes. All those in favor of the agenda as printed?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Same. Public comments. There's a few people here, but I believe they're coming to present for some other things, so we'll wait for a moment, and then we will get ready to hear from FBLA. If you all want to start getting ready, or anything you need to do, you're welcome to come up.
Carol, can we go ahead and close this door now? Amy will just have to knock, and then we can make fun of her. Or she might come. Yeah.
Ms. Cromwell, you and your students can go ahead when you're ready. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to Mr. Pettit, Mr. Rinke, and members of the school board for allowing us to come highlight our chapter. We are a growing chapter at Saline County Career Center. We are a career tech student organization, Future Business Leaders of America. And I'm going to let each person tell you who they are and if they are an office holder.
I'm Piper Brunson. I'm our FBLA parliamentarian.
I'm Brianna Carrillo, and I'm our chapter's reporter.
I'm Diona Escarate. I'm our chapter's president.
I'm Lupita Morales, and I'm our chapter's vice president.
I'm Jasmine Davis, and I'm just a member of FBLA.
I'm Randy Vasquez. I'm also just a member of FBLA.
Not just a member, very important. And we have some other members over there. Y'all can wave at them. I'm going to turn it over to the officers, and they have a presentation that they are going to show to you.
So what is FBLA? So FBLA stands for Future Business Leaders of America, and it inspires and prepares students to become community-minded business leaders in a global society through relevant career preparation and leadership experiences.
So this is our 2024-2025 chapter picture. We have 46 members. Our president, Deanna, designed our shirts, and then the officer team decided what colors they would be and where our logos would go.
The Delta. This is our Delta that represents FBLA. It represents our commitment to the ideals of service, education, and progress. Each part, each color of the Delta represents one of these three things, and this is what we stand for.
Service. Every individual should be interested in taking the responsibility to promote a better social, political, and family life. So we had several service projects throughout our year. In November, we did a little food drive for the little food pantries throughout town to prepare for Thanksgiving. In December, we did a holiday toy drive for the Saline County Holiday Project. There we go. And then January, we did a school supply drive to donate to the Hoot House to restock on school supplies for the rest of the semester.
Also for service, we do High Five Friday at Spainhauer, and then we sold popsicles at lunch to raise money for that Alzheimer's Awareness Day. And we do the trunk or treat at the high school every year, and we made dog ropes to donate to the Saline County Animal League in April.
So for education, our members have gone to the Cardinals Career Day, to the Kansas City Mavericks Career Day, and then we also went to business tours.
Also for education, an amazing thing that we do is we participate in contests. So just recently we went to a district contest, and many of us placed in our events and will be going to state for these events, and many more of us medaled and got some amazing placements. And we have different types of events that you can participate in. We have test events that are 100-question tests on any subject that has to do with business or a job. And then we also have presentation events where you take a presentation, present it to judges on a certain topic. Like I did one on social media strategies and marketing through social media. We also have role play events, so like a job interview, and you would go in and compete like that, and then you'll go to state and you'll do it all again if you do place and go to state. And then we also have nationals. And so yeah.
Through FBLA, we do a lot of stuff where we have to, which takes money, and so we have sponsors. Some of our chapter sponsors at the silver level are Course Lab, and then that bronze is McDonald's, Tower Realty, Exchange Bank, and the City of Marshall. Oh, and Lime Cooler Insurance.
For fundraising, we do our annual food truck day, and we like to promote businesses that want to sponsor us at Food Truck Day. We put them on t-shirts, and we have picket signs. And FBLA works in the food trucks after school to kind of help the food truck vendors in their trucks. And it's put on by the entrepreneurship class, so kind of learning the ropes of the business world.
So for state last year, our chapter received the gold level. And then we also received that in the 2022-23 year. And then we had one member go to nationals last year, which was Randy. And at state, I got recognition for 500 plus hours of community service.
So here's another thing to do with our contest that we have. So basically, this is the Steps Up to Anaheim, California, which is where nationals will take place for FBLA this year. So we had our district contest in Chillicothe on February 7th, and then we will soon be having in April from the 13th to the 15th our state contest in Springfield. And then hopefully we will have national contest in Anaheim, California around summertime.
FBLA has a Facebook page and an Instagram page that you can follow. That's at SCC FBLA. We post like pictures of our events on there, or our chapter meetings, or like posts about FBLA week, which is this week, and yeah.
I wanted to expand a little bit on our Food Truck Day. The Food Truck Day event, FBLA doesn't do traditional, quote, fundraisers where we sell stuff. The entrepreneurship class is the class that plans everything for Food Truck Day. They decide who to invite. They do all the marketing for it. They design menus for each food truck vendor. They design the layout. They work in the food trucks during the day. FBLA is also going to work in the food trucks this year because I have a lot of seniors in my entrepreneurship class, and that's their last day of school. So they have a lot of stuff at the high school that morning, but they are going to come work. So FBLA is going to pick up kind of their slack in the morning time, and then they do work. The food trucks do donate a portion of their proceeds back to our chapter. This year, we are also, I'm going to let you pass those down. We're doing a sponsorship program for the Food Truck Day to any businesses in town. If they want to, we're doing an appetizer level, you know, tying it back to that food thing, appetizer level, then entrees, main course, dessert, and what have you. Each of those is a different dollar amount. Last year we had Course Lab was $1,000, and they got their name on the back of the Food Truck Day shirts. This is a really important fundraiser too for the culinary class, because in conjunction with FBLA entrepreneurship class, the culinary classes, we have our own lemonade stand where we work together and we make it all from scratch. All the lemons are squeezed in the kitchen downstairs, and it smells amazing in that building. So the kids, you know, they come up with special flavors, and, you know, like I said, we do all of the marketing, make the menus, and do all of that. So it's an important fundraising day for a lot of our CTSOs. Try real hard to get inclusive with other groups. FFA does their plant sale that day, so we try to, you know, get as many different things for the community and the school. I think the high schoolers really like it because they get to come over several times and spend some money at the food trucks. And I've had really good feedback from the food truck vendors that they love having the kids in there. You know, when I'm teaching this unit, the hustle is hard in a food truck. It's a small space and it's just constant. And for them to get in there, because they do a whole food truck unit where they come up with a concept, they find out what it's going to cost, they write a complete business plan as if they were going to go get funding. So when they go through all of that and then they get in there and actually see what it's like, it really brings it light bulb moment for them. So Randy, he did go to Orlando last year. He was able to go across the stage at Missouri FBLA State Leadership Conference, and he did take a test, and he took a test at large, one that he had no idea what it was until we got to Florida. So that was my first experience taking somebody to nationals. So he, again, has qualified to go to state in 2 different events. We had all 46 members of our chapter this year participated at some level, whether it was a test, a role play, or a presentation at districts. We have 16 members going to state in 15 different events. So we are super, super proud of all of the hard work that they have put into studying and preparing for that. Did I miss anything? This is FBLA week, so we are busy, busy, busy. We had, after school, we had our social at the bowling alley, so we literally bowled until 5 and hustled out here and did a change of clothes. So lots of things going on. We do have business tours Thursday in Boonville, hopefully we'll get to go to those. This time of year, it's always iffy with the weather. Do you all have any questions for us about our organization?
No, a comment though, FBLA has always been one of the strongest clubs and organizations in the campus, and I'm glad to see the tradition has continued all these years.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Yeah, this is my 5th year here, and this is our biggest chapter yet. So one of the unique things about FBLA is that you don't actually have to be in a business class to be in FBLA. I have a lot of students in FBLA that I don't have in class. So that's one of the nice things about our CTSO is that anyone can join from the high school. And our officers do a really good job with recruitment events at the high school, and we use our social media and try to get as many people in as possible. Deanna, she just retired her district vice president of public relations office that she held. And Brianna is toying with the idea of running for a state office. So we've got some really great leaders coming up, and I'm super proud of them. All righty, I think that's all we have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation, and we encourage you to run for that office.
Keep up the good work.
Next, we have a presentation from the middle school. Mr. Reed and company.
Keep up the good work, kids.
I'd like to thank everyone for having us tonight. Kind of have a quick two-part presentation. The first part is going to feature some of our students. I didn't do that last year, and I wanted to have a chance to do that this year with one of our newest clubs that we kind of created out of scratch this year, I guess. I believe was inspired by some of the things the high school was doing, and when we went to the homecoming parade, got some inspiration and made some things happen, and I am proud to announce and introduce our Pacific Islander Club. We have some of the representatives, not all of them here today, and the sponsor, Ms. Sarah Otto. I've always been so proud as a person who's been at Beaker for 20 years, as a fresh 20-whatever-year-old I was when I first started there. I was just always so impressed with the culture and the diversity we have in our school and continue. It wasn't something I necessarily grew up with, but when I came here, it just opened my eyes, and I was just so proud of what we have and just everything that kids can learn from each other from different backgrounds and cultures. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Sarah Otto, who is probably one of the best representatives I can think of for our school, and she is the sponsor of our Pacific Islander Club.
Hello, thank you for having us this evening. I apologize for our tardiness, but we're here, we made it. So these are some of our members. If you guys will step this way, you can do 2 rows there. Okay, so I am the sponsor of the Pacific Islander Club. Mr. Wright helps us out. He's our co-sponsor. He gets us where we need to go and helps us with our activities. So I was inspired, like Mr. Reed said, by Ms. Hernandez at the high school. She has a Pacific Islander Club, and I saw them walking in the homecoming parade, and I thought, that is a need at Beaker Middle School that is not being met, so I need to step up and fulfill that need. So I decided to become the sponsor. But before I became the sponsor, I decided, you know what, I want to do right by these students. I feel like I need to do a little research. The librarian in me told me, I can't just walk in there on the first day and expect to know what I'm doing. I need to do a little research. So the first thing I did was I went to Google and I typed in, where are the Pacific Islands? Because I just assumed, oh, it's by Hawaii, right? It's not at all. So you can see on this picture here, the Pacific Islands are so large that they are divided into regions. And so there is Polynesia, which includes Hawaii at the very top there. The United States is so far from the Pacific Islands that it's not even on this map. You can see over here, Micronesia is where we're going to focus on. That's where a lot of our students are from. But Polynesia is here, Hawaii, Micronesia, Melanesia, Australasia. I can never say that one correctly. But I decided that I really wanted to focus on, out of all the Pacific Islands, Micronesia, because that is where our students are from. So we're going to zoom in here and look at these maps. So Micronesia is broken down into 4 states. We've got Yap, Chuk, Pompey, and Koshrai. And these guys could probably say that a lot better than me. MC's a lot better at saying it than I am. But most of our students come from Chuk, which is this area right here. It's about 290 islands, and it is very rural. It's very, very spread out. And then Pohnpei is the other area that our students come from. Chuk has a population of about 37,000 in all of those 290 islands, and Pohnpei has a population of about 45,000 in all those islands. So we decided in the club that we were going to talk about all the Pacific Islands, but mostly focus on Chuk and Pohnpei in Micronesia. So here's some basics about our club. So any student at BMS can join if they want to. It's open to any person. Currently we have 64 members, and that is 64 very active members. Every single one of them comes every single month. They're knocking on the doors, come on, they want to come in, they want to meet more than once a month. I wish we could, but I'm a little busy. But we have 64 very active members. We discuss different cultural aspects of the Pacific Islands. We meet, like I said, once a month from 3:15 to 4 in the BMS library. If you are ever around that way, you're more than welcome to stop in and see us. We have a great time at our meetings. And we meet to gain appreciation and learn about the Pacific Islands. And I'm going to let these guys talk here in just a little bit more about our club. But so far, we have covered, at our first meeting, we talked about on the map, where are the islands, to really pull up that map and talk to these guys about where are you from, where's your family from. That was really interesting. Next one, we talked about Christmas in Micronesia. We compared and contrasted Missouri versus Micronesia at Christmas time. Very different. We talked about the history and cultural significance of tattoos. And then this last time we talked about instruments and folk music of the Pacific Islands. So some upcoming meetings, we are going to talk about dance and traditions. We are actually gearing up to perform at the third quarter Owl Pride Assembly. We're going to perform a dance. I say we, not me. Our talented leader members here have come together. JoJo has really stepped up along with Natalie and Vera, and they have come up with a dance that they're going to teach us. And we're going to perform in the third quarter assembly. So we're going to be meeting a lot more because we need some dance practice. So our future meetings are going to be dance and traditions, food and celebrations, and then in May, that is AAPI month, Asian American Pacific Islander month, and so we're going to have a great time in May. I haven't told them this yet, but we're going to take over the intercom in the morning, if Mr. Reed's okay with that, and we're going to talk about some facts about the Pacific Islands, and we're going to make some posters and hang them up all over the schools, okay? Yeah? Oh, see, they're so great. They go along with my ideas. So that's what we're going to do in May. And some goals that I have is I would love to have a guest speaker from the community come in and talk at one of our meetings, whether this is a parent or a family member, someone that they know that they would love to see come in and speak at one of our meetings. I would also like to host an after-school group activity and invite family and bring in food, play volleyball. Volleyball, you guys have been telling me that you'd love to play volleyball. And I would like to also get with Ms. Hernandez in the high school PI club and meet with them. And I'd really like those 8th graders to get to know her because that will be your sponsor next year, is Ms. Hernandez. So that is our future goals. Something that I've learned as the sponsor of this club is I am so proud of these kids and how they've really stepped up as leaders. They are the first ones to say at the end of our meetings, hey, pick up the floor. Don't leave any trash on the floor. Or they will say, hey, when we leave, we need to leave the building in a nice way. Or they will say, hey, push in those chairs. Or if I'm speaking at a meeting and there's chatter going on, they'll say, Miss Otto's talking. Don't talk right now. So they are the ones that have stepped up and become leaders in this club, and I am just so proud of them. So I have loved being their sponsor. And then now a couple of them, I've talked them into speaking very quickly. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I have 3 questions that I told them that they could focus on. They could either tell us why they enjoy this club, or why the club is important to them, or what is something that they love about their culture. So I'm just gonna have a couple of them speak since we have time here. Would anyone like to go first? Masako, would you like to go first? Masako, answer one of these questions for us.
The reason why I think this Islanders Club is important so other people can learn about my culture.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? JoJo, would you like to speak? MC? Okay, let's go, J-Rod.
Why do I enjoy this club? I enjoy this club because I get to meet new people and other things about their culture, and yeah.
MC, would you like to speak?
I enjoy this club because I like. I'm sorry. I enjoy the club because I get to share my culture with other people who haven't heard of my culture. That's all.
Ms. Hyde, would you like to speak? Okay, we got maybe one more. All right, Ms. Hyde?
Why do I enjoy this club? Same thing what J-Rod said. I like meeting new people from like other places. And I think this club is important to me because I'm like, not only like can I like learn cultural stuff about like where I'm from, Chuk, but I also like to learn about like other cultural stuff at Pohnpei and other places like that.
All right, last call. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for having us. And again, I apologize for our tardiness, but thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for coming. We appreciate hearing about that.
Yes, thank you very much, and for sharing your culture.
Yeah, and I'll echo all their Masato's thoughts. It's just really neat to see students in a different light sometimes. At the middle school, you don't always have as many opportunities for students to step up in leadership roles. You know, you've got athletics, but we don't necessarily have as many athletics and music as like the high school can offer all sorts of other different areas. And so I was really excited to get this off the ground and running. And once again, thanks to Mr. Wright and Ms. Otto, who just volunteered to do this out of the kindness of her heart and because she saw the need for it. And so it's been such a positive thing this year for all of our students, not just the ones who come from the Pacific Islands, and I hope that it will continue for years to come. Okay, well, my part will be very quick as well. I just want to do a quick spotlight of some things happening in Beaker and Northwest. I'm actually going to move through that one really quickly there. This is our presentation from the fall for our annual walkathon. I just wanted to give a quick shout out for everyone who helped participate in that and our community organizations and businesses who helped, because we get a lot of support in the community as well. And I would be remiss if I said some of the names because I'm sure I would forget some. But our PTO puts this together in the fall and October in coordination with Pink Week at the high school. And we walk to the high school and back. The kids do their best to find sponsors. And this year we were able to donate $1,500 to the Fitzgibbon Hospital Cancer Center, which we have done for every year we've been able to do it besides the COVID years. So it was a great opportunity to work on teamwork, charitable giving, give back to the community that has done so much for us. And so I was really proud of everything that week. That was one of the highlights of our year this year. We donated a portion of the proceeds to the Cancer Center, and then the rest goes to our PTO. I think we had over $9,000 raised this year, which was incredibly impressive, and the PTO has already got a lot of good plans for some of those funds. Some of the other things, more data-driven things, our two building goals that kind of go with the district's APR report are to help raise our MAP scores, increase the amount of kids in the top 2 levels and the advanced and proficient levels, and then build on our percentage of students who are working on grade levels. So I thought I would update you all on that as much as we can. We just got the diagnostic, winter diagnostic completed for the iReady, and this graph is very intimidating and maybe not as easy to read as other ones. But I just wanted to highlight we've done something different this year across not just Beaker, but Northwest and some of the elementary schools as well. We've adopted or trialed a different Tier 1 math curriculum. We've used iReady for like our Altime for the last few years, but this year we did a trial, or continuing to do a trial version of iReady for just our regular math classes. And it has not been easy by any means. We found that it's very rigorous, and it has increased the difficulty sometimes for students and teachers and parents, but we were really just absolutely, I was shocked when I saw the results. So what you have here is it kind of looks like well, there's kind of 4 quadrants there, but along the bottom is our performance related to the national norms. So the percentile comparing us across the nation. So obviously the further to the right you get is the ideal location. And so the perfect place would have your dots all the way to the right, and then the vertical axis, the one going up and down, is showing how much we have grown from the beginning of the year, whenever we do this in August or September, until the most recent diagnostic assessment, which, like I said, we gave in December. So the ultimate goal is to move as far as you can to the right, and then also to move up, because if you're in that top right-hand quadrant up there, not only are you performing well compared to people across the nation, but then you're also growing. And so I'm not as adept on this. I don't know if I can get the laser up there, but so this is the Beaker Middle School dot, and down, these are like Northwest, Eastwood, Benton, and Spainhauer. And so when I saw this way up here, I'm like, what in the world can we attribute this to? And so what this shows is like, we have had very, very impressive growth, I would say, from the beginning of the year until now. And I don't think it's anything more than when we adopted the iReady curriculum, we just jumped in all the way, right? We didn't just do it in one class, and I think there's some other buildings that just did it in one class. We just did it for all of our classes in all of the middle school. And so this is a very encouraging sign that we've shown a lot of growth so far. Now, by no means are we all the way over here, because we would like to be further over to the right, but that was just eye-opening, like, holy cow, maybe we are onto something, and we've hit something that can provide us better success in getting our kids achieving at a higher level. This one's kind of cut off a little bit at the top, but I tried to break it down. This is broken down by grade level. So all the way at the top up here, our highest performing group, that's our 7th grade, our current 7th graders. And so they have achieved more than 100%, like 100 is somewhere in here. And so like the median score is up here in the 120s, which means that the median student in 7th grade has already hit their growth goal for the entire year in December. So we're not obviously going to stop, but that was encouraging for 7th grade. This is the same chart, but just highlighting. This is 6th grade, which is just a little bit below there. And then there's the 8th grade. I believe the 5th grade is the one below that. This one way over here is actually probably where I would like to see the 6th and 7th and the 5th graders eventually get to. But that is just kind of a breakdown by grade. And I had one for reading, but I don't think it showed up on that one. So we've seen some similar growths in reading as well, but the math one has just really stood out. And so I just wanted to give a chance to highlight that, because I know that's a big focus for our district. We've spent a lot of resources and time, and Laura Jacoby has spent a lot of efforts helping us put that together. And so I am optimistic that we are headed in the right direction, and it has been not easy for some of the students and the parents who get questions, and it hasn't been necessarily something that students have found an easy transition, but I hope it's going to be worth it. And so that is my presentation for tonight.
Mr. Reed, just to clarify, so the pilot for the math program, you guys did it across the entire math program at Beaker Middle School?
Yeah.
You said that, I just want to emphasize that to the board, so.
All four grades.
Yes, so I know when the idea was originally pitched with Laura, came to us last year, she kind of gave us the option like, hey, we definitely want to trial it with, or pilot it with at least one class. And I know some, like at Northwest, we have one class that's piloting it to kind of have some data to compare like this group to the other groups. And at Beaker, kind of the consensus among our teachers was, hey, if we're going to do this, let's just all do it and all kind of, jump in full throttle here. And so, yeah, we have every single student doing this. We don't really have necessarily a control group that was still doing the program that we were doing last year and the year before. So, yeah, that is what I attribute most of that to. It's the hard work of the students, the hard work of the teachers, the hard work of the parents, because, like I said, it hasn't been easy. There are a lot of students whose grades in math don't necessarily reflect what that shows, because grades have gone down as the rigor and the demands in the classroom academically have gone up, but we're hoping that we'll balance that out as they get more used to it and they get more familiarity with it. So, yeah.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
All right, any other questions? All right, appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
We got that queued up for you. Is that good job, kids?
We'll next have Insight Design and Patrick Claybrook. Thank you, students. Have a good night.
While we're setting that up, and that's the one I just shared with you, Wesley. We've got those sites there. Mr. Claybrook's joining us from Insight Design, and they've got a little sickness going on at Insight like everywhere else, but this is one of two Patricks from Insight. He's been working with us a lot behind the scenes. I don't know if you guys have met him before. There's three. Okay. There's two that we work with a lot here at Marshall directly.
on the intermediate school.
Yeah. So we'll turn it over to you and let you kind of start introducing this subject ahead of Nabholz, and just want to introduce you a little bit.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Patrick Claybrook. I'm an architectural designer with Insight Design Studio. I've been working very close with David and Caleb for the past almost year now with the Marshall Intermediate School, and as of now, the distribution center and supply services building. Up on our screen, we have our overall site plan just to kind of get you guys oriented with what's going on. We have the new intermediate school that's currently being built, along with now our proposed site for this distribution center.
A little louder, please.
A little louder? I can do that. So within this site, we have broken out into about 3 phases of what we would like to happen in this first phase. The first part being the site work. Here you can see that we would have parking, sidewalks, and as well as a bus parking lot to hold all your buses that will be fenced in and have a gate. Moving a little closer, we have the actual building itself. In this, we have the existing building that's already on site, and we'd be doing an addition to it. Within this phase, we are hoping to be able to get the exterior walls to the addition. So throughout the building, there will be nothing finished on the inside, but from the outside, it will look like a complete building. The addition itself is this bottom part that is grayed out. And you'll see along the plan, I have called out for future areas that I have worked with David and Caleb on pointing out. We have a admin office area, capable of holding 6 offices, has a break room and a conference room. We have your shipping and receiving area, places for storage, a print shop for any of those large prints that you guys may do, and then a future service vehicle area, a place that will have 2 garage doors going in there where you guys can take your service vehicles to work on them. To close this off, we have just a couple renders to show off the building. This first one is that main entrance. Throughout this building, we're trying to tie in the materials that you will find on the Marshall Intermediate School so they look cohesive. So we have some metal panels that will match the intermediate school, and this is your main entrance, as well as the new loading dock area. Everything that's existing, we are planning on repairing and repainting to match the precast that's on the intermediate school, as well as giving you guys 2 garage doors on this side for a loading dock for any large trucks or buses that may need to come and unload. Thank you.
You guys have any questions for him before we get into the Nabholz construction side of it? Thank you, sir, very much for sharing that.
Next, we'll have Nabholz and Mitchell and Glenn if you're with him, or if you're waiting until later.
Oh, man. You're going to let me steal the thunder. Well, we wanted to give you guys an update on how the current project is going. So before we start talking future phase, just quick update. These are some progress photos of the actual job site. We also still have the 360 camera up and the other camera, so you should have access to up-to-date photos. But you'll see, especially upstairs, we've got a lot of the finishes going in. seems early. It is. The job is going very well. It's probably 2 to 3 months ahead of schedule. We're already proceeding through finishes of several of the spaces and starting kind of our punch-out process even up there where units are getting ready to fire up. We've got some temp units getting some conditioning. So, but you can start to see these are actually some finished ceilings areas where we've got those wood, kind of wood ceilings there with some lights, and then even some of the casework going in. So, is this going to advance, or we? Oh, sorry.
It's on a timer, like 15 seconds. Or it's supposed to.
Yeah, I was like, I'm a fast talker. That was 15 seconds. Okay, so these are probably what you might have seen on renderings where in the entry you're seeing more of, still have glass left to go in some of the large areas, so we've left out some of the finishes on that. But really progress is going very well on site. This is shots of the gym where we sprayed the top of the ceiling or top of the structure, drying out that slab. Really looking forward to getting the equipment going overhead and starting even some of the flooring in the next 2 months. Another shot, kind of main lobby. You'd see.
That's actually a bathroom, but there's some pretty big tile in there. It just doesn't show up very good on that block wall.
Yeah. Okay.
He'll be able to see it at home.
And then that's on a loop, right? Okay. So yeah, like we said, trending really well. A lot of good partners on site that, as we had progressed quickly through structure and even the site work, we were able to get materials on site and get started even sooner. So we're in great shape for having this done a little early and start shifting focus to a potential next phase, or finish early and let people have summer months to get this set up for the fall. So great spot to be in. That has also in itself even contributed to some savings. Financial update, we are under budget pretty well. A lot of it we could attest to the risk we talked about on the tunnels that were underground. Those actually we were able not to have to spend a lot of that allowance, so had roughly $500,000 in savings just for site. That you could say we were being conservative to cover that risk, but either way, that had savings that we tracked and are able to go ahead and start targeting using that savings. And then similar, we had other contingencies, really have worked well with Insight on keeping the design, communicated well, and that has resulted in savings to the contingencies that we talked about potentially being a risk, especially when you have a job going well on site for schedule. You're not spending overtime out of sequence costs, so we're starting to see the financial savings as well. And with us being a few months from a lot of our subs wrapping up, we feel like it's good timing to start forecasting that savings and seeing how it can be best used. So, is that, are you getting more financial? Okay.
I will get more financial.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. You have any questions for that?
As long as you're on time.
Good.
No.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Great news.
Next, we'll move to the Assistant or Deputy Superintendent report. Mr. Rinky.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'd like to say, I know they all left, but how awesome was the kids' presentation tonight? I mean, that's why we're here, and to see a lot of the great things going on with our clubs and organizations, and the students put in a lot of work. So it's pretty awesome. I really enjoy seeing those and learning from them too, in a lot of cases. So just kind of want to piggyback. I appreciate Nabholz and Insight Design being here tonight. Knock on wood, Mitch said 2 months ahead of schedule right now and under budget. So I've been, that's a lot of great work by them. Both companies, Nabholz and Insight Design, they, a lot of work goes on behind the scenes, a lot of meetings, and they do it very efficiently, and things are going well. So it's really good. We had really great weather to start with construction too, so that really helped put us ahead. So a lot to be thankful for. So Okay, getting into my report, and I will, there's nothing to approve tonight. I just want you to know that. This is all for information for the board. There are some big decisions that need to be made here in probably the next month, and I'll get into those, but there's also a lot of information I need to dig into to make sure that we are making the best financial decisions and the best logistical decisions for our district, for our students and our teachers. So tonight what I'm going to go over real quick, the Power School data breach. I want to give an update on that. Mr. Pettit, I know last month presented on that. And then we have some district bids that we've been working on in the central office. The 5 big bids, that's going to affect the district one way or the other. So let's start with the Power School data breach. We have been working both with Power School and then some other companies. Tonight, in the consent agenda, the board approved 2 contracts. One was for Mullen Coughlin. Mullen Coughlin is a law firm out on the East Coast. They were recommended by Music Insurance. That's our liability insurance carrier here in Missouri. They work with Mullen Coughlin in any of these data breaches for direction. Apparently I've learned they're one of the best in the country, so that's why they use them. Working through this, Power School is doing something on their end, and then we're doing something on our end to protect our employees. One thing that Power School is going to send out notification to the employees affected, and they will offer a 2-year Experian monitoring, credit monitoring. So that will be in the works. But then on our side, working with Music Insurance and Mullen Coughlin, we have also went with a company called Dauntless. I really don't know where Dauntless is from, but what they have done is helped us identify on our end people affected in case Power School missed anybody. So we took that extra step through our liability insurance and then want to make sure that we get everybody notified. So we're working on that right now. Some additional district notifications the lawyers are helping us out with, that these have been made. So anytime you have a data breach, legally we have to notify the Missouri Secretary of State, the Missouri Attorney General, and the Department of Education. And it does matter how you notify these people and the wording and everything you don't do. So they have been, the law firm has been helping us through that. So it was kind of a hurry up process. Now it's kind of a slow process as people are trying to, make sure they got their, the T's crossed and the I's dotted and moving forward. So that's kind of where we're at right now. There'll be more information to come and more notifications as we get through the next couple months. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I was just going to say, you might mention that music is picking up part of that tab as well.
Yes, they will. They're covering most of it right now. Yes. Hopefully all of it, but most of it right now.
It doesn't have anything to do with you, David, just as a sidebar. The high school I graduated from had the same breach in Power School that we did here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not a Marshall problem. It's actually a worldwide problem. Anybody that had that, and Power School is used throughout the world, not only in the U.S. And yep, it affected a lot of people. So okay, moving on. So we have 3 major bids coming throughout the district, and we do these. Been doing these every 5 years, and I'll have a little information on those. So we have our technology bid, our technology managed service provider, our food service, that's a big one for our students, and then our printing services. So I'm going to start out with our food service bids. We currently partner with OPA. I think the district has been with them for probably 15 or 20 years as their food service management. They do a good job, but at the end of the 5 years, we send out a bid, and we work actually with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, because they have their qualifications and they have their steps and their processes that we need to follow for their federal funding and state funding that we receive. So we did end up receiving 4 bids back: OPA, Southwest Foods, Genuine Foods, and Aramark. And this is going to be really small for everybody. I don't know if, hopefully you guys can read this, but it's in your packet. These are the bids that came back, and it's for 5 years that they do the bidding. And so we do have a price increase that's some of our bids, and some of our bids, they were less, and then some of them are about a 2% and then another 6%. But I'm not going to read through all these, but it's going to take a little bit, and I want to make sure before we make a recommendation for the board that I'm comparing apples to apples in some of these bids, because there's just some different things that can go through that they add in, they count out, that I want to make sure we have done. So some of these, you know, like I want to make sure we have the right commodities that we get from the state, you know, accounted for in this. The different labor schedules, I want to make sure we're staying with the same staffing. I don't want a company to say, hey, you know, in their bid say we have 4 in the high school, but we're going to go down to 2, for example. You know, I want to make sure we still are able to cover it. So we do this as a 5-year contract. Now, the one thing with that is, as a district, we can go year to year. So we can actually, anytime throughout this contract, we can call for a rebid. So if we weren't happy with one, we go with. Now the 5 years go through, it actually locks the company in that for those prices that we're dealing with. So as a district, we can always rebid, but the contract or the company, they would be contracted for 5 years. So those are the food service bids. There is, when you get going through our breakfast prices, there is a significant difference in those, but like I said, I'll bring back some more information next month for you guys when we do the approval. So that's food service. Next one, we have our printing services. Riccio is our current printing services. They do all our copy machines. They also run the print shop. It's the managed print shop. There's kind of 2 sections to that. You know, all the copiers are kind of one, and then that all of our employees can send jobs and print, you know, get everything printed through our print shop. We received 4 bids this time for this. This would also be a 5-year contract. So we received a bid from Riccio again, 2 from GFI Digital, and 1 from Toshiba. The reason we do a 5-year bid contract in this is because you're leasing all the equipment. So, and it's usually on a 5-year lease. Electronics seem to be, that's their lifespan anymore, 5 years, and then they're kind of done. If we leased it for 1 year, we probably couldn't afford it because you're going to be paying all those lease purchase all up front 1 year, and it would just skyrocket the bids for that year. So that's why they try to do a 5-year. It's kind of the industry standard, and then spread those funds out. So,
Are you tied for the whole 5 with the printing?
you can get out of the managed part of it, but once you lease the equipment, if we get out, there's some different things on the Missouri state pricing, but basically you would end up paying out the
breach of some sort or something.
Yeah. So in these bids, again, I need to do a lot more research, kind of go back out and figure out exactly what is in all the bids and work through it. Right now we have a print shop, Riccio and GFI. They put in pretty much the same thing, how it's been going. There is a price increase with all of these. You know, prices are going up, so they're just passing along to the school district. But one of the ones, we have about 149,000, 150,000 per year, and 139,000. This 139,000 I need to look into because I believe that's refurbished machines, which is okay to bid on. But I'm always leery of 5 years with a refurbished machine for our teachers because sometimes it gets a little
I'll
rough.
interject there. With this kind of a contract, GFI is liable for all the maintenance and everything on those machines for that time period.
Right.
So if it'll save you 10 grand, it's probably worth it.
Yeah. We did get an alternate bid that we're looking into also from Toshiba, and this basically is it's a money savings, definitely big money savings, especially throughout the 5 years. But this would be more of a on-demand process. We wouldn't so much have a print shop anymore, but we would have more copiers, convenient copiers, and just kind of how everything's ran. So that's one option that we're checking into. Again, going through this, we want to be the most cost efficient, but we also want to meet our teachers and our students' needs, make sure they have everything. So I'll be bringing back more information on our print services next month and make a recommendation. Does anybody have any questions on that? And that's a good point on the services. So. Okay. Let's get on to the next one. Technology bidding. So we have a company that manages all our technology services. This is from all our computers to our services to our networks, our internet. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes into that. Right now, currently, Converge Technology Solutions, CTS, is our provider. I believe they went with CTS probably 5 years ago. So they handle pretty much, or they handle all of our stuff right now. We had 2 bids. This is the first bid from CTS. They increased a little bit. It's about a 3% increase. You will see this backup monthly cost. That is the maximum it can be. So basically what they do is they'll take all of our data and everything we have on our servers and all of our information, and they actually send that elsewhere to back up our data in case anything ever happened to our servers and everything, we would still have our information. So that was the first one. That is a 5-year contract also. One of the reasons we do a 5-year contract with them, and we can always have a exit clause, but it helps them also planning for 5 years with their staffing. There's several different programs that they have to get also with our ticketing system and some of the protection systems. And it's a lot more cost efficient if we send that stuff out for 5 years instead of just getting it for 1 year. So it just helps them think. So we had 2 bids, CTS, which about a 3%, and then we had another company that bid, GFI Digital, that also bid on our copy machines. And I need to double check with them, but they put in a proposal of $51,200 a month. So which was, there is a very big separation there. So I'll do some checking on that, and then next month also bring back a recommendation on that or any more information. So those are the 3 big bids that we have for the district. And again, next month I will bring the recommendations back and more information. If anybody has any questions on that, make sure, please feel free to ask. Next month, I'll also bring back to you the capital outlay plan that we've done the last couple years, looking into the summer and budgeting, and also our technology updated plan in our rotations. So, and then we've been working on the 2025-2026 school calendar, have set up a calendar committee for that, and then we are working through that. So hopefully I will have that back to you. We will send out to our employees and our staff for a vote, hopefully in the next couple weeks, and then be able to bring it to you for approval in March. Okay, any questions on any of that? Yes, Jack?
I know you're busy as all get out, David, but if it's not too much trouble, can you get a number for us on what we spent on technology for a year? So we have something, we say it's going to increase this much. I want some hard numbers that show last year we spent $8 million and this year we're going to spend $9 million or whatever the numbers are. So we can actually compare what those dollars, you say 3%. Well, 3% of all the money we spend on technology is a big amount of dollars.
Yeah, I can break that out.
You're looking for technology service, not equipment, correct?
And then do you consider our ability to rebid during the course of this 5 years? Personally, I think 5 years is a little too long. Is that an opt-out? Is there an opt-out clause in any of these 3 contracts we're looking at?
Yes.
So food service, Yes, as a district, we could rebid every year. That's just law. Now, we're locking that company in. In the technology, however direction we go, before I bring that back, I'd make sure there's an opt-out clause. Yes.
Okay.
The print shop, or the printers in the print shop, there is, you could get out, there's a clause, but basically you're still gonna be paying, whatever we do, we still would have to pay the lease off of those machines that we're leasing. So, yeah, I mean, I could find out exactly what that would be, but it's basically, when we talk about we're gonna lease something for 5 years, if we decided we were done, you're gonna pay that lease.
Okay,
So-
thank you, David.
Yep.
And you wanted like the CTS numbers, not the E-rate or anything else, right? Just what we're paying for that service that he's talking about, the next service, right?
I'm sorry, Brian.
You just want to talk about that service price, right? Well, the money we're paying to like CTS now versus what it would be next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can absolutely get that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like 12,500 some a month right now compared to whatever that was, so. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. Well,
I don't know if you all can tell, but this is a busy meeting, so a fun buzzword these days in education is best practices. And I do not think it's best practices to build a school and bid 5-year contracts 3 at a time and then talk about new projects and all of it as you're heading into contract season and budgets. But it is a lot of fun.
You're having fun.
If you've never done it, so it keeps you young. All right, I'm gonna go through a lot of things as fast as I can. I do not want you to fall asleep. If you're awake, everybody just agree to pinch your neighbor if they're asleep. And we're gonna go as quick as we can. Before I forget to mention it, kind of a last minute development that Mr. Shepherd and I talked about today that I know I'm gonna forget if I don't say it first was we've had an interesting development just very recently where we have learned of a couple of things going on with education as the target where checks are being targeted. And McGraw, a major book company, has been targeted other places, not in Marshall, but people are getting a hold of those checks through the mail system somehow, and then they're trying to change the name. We didn't experience it there, but I was speaking to Mr. Shepherd with his tech background, and I was asking him some questions about this. We had a company that we pay from our summer school program. We mailed a check to Atlanta, Georgia, and the company's name and the person who tried to cash it somewhere in Texas was nothing at all the same. And so there's going to be some things that we'll talk about in weeks to come. Nobody has gotten any of the money that way, but we're starting to find that checks are being targeted. And we're working with our local bank, the bank where it was trying to be cashed. And then I've been leaning on Brad just a little bit just this morning, trying to understand the best way to stop that, because as we discussed, it's you can't ACH everything when you want to support local business, but we're brainstorming some thoughts. So it'll be something in an upcoming workshop we need to add to our topics of discussion. So now I'm going to go on with a lot of other random things, and we're going to just pinball right along. Just stop me. Otherwise, I'm going to try to cover everything we're voting on. When I'm done with my presentation, I think we have everything for old business and new business to land quickly. So I thank you guys for your time. First, I have a responsibility. I feel like I've got to start with the legislative update, and this is the first of many, and I am truly just scratching the surface. But first, we had the State of the State recently by Governor Kehoe. No political statements here as far as what side of the aisle one is or isn't on, but it was identified in his State of the State that open enrollment, year 5, open enrollment is one of his administration's priority. That definitely has financial implications for public education. In Marshall, we loosely predict that that would be a $486,000 hit in our funding sources. Thing with open enrollment, you just don't know, are you getting kids, losing kids, or is one canceling out the other? It also has transportation implications. We already have transportation problems. That one concerns me as much as the money. And then the other thing, if a district, let's just say we're surrounded by a lot of smaller districts that didn't perhaps have the ability to offer special student services as well as them, Marshall would be a pretty good example of that. It's going to be very enticing for them if they're able to send those students who need extra services, but then we might lose the students who don't. And in terms of all this data that we're always looking at, it kind of skews it for the larger schools. So financially, for what's best for kids, for what's best for diversity, very much opposed as an educator to open enrollment. And there's a resolution in our board packet tonight, which was vetted by Ed Council. About 200 school districts in the state of Missouri so far have asked their boards to adopt that resolution. And it's just taking an official stand as a public school entity to say that we don't think this is best for kids, to not know how many kids are coming, going, how often they're going to do it, or how they're going to be transported, or how it's going to be paid for. Those are valid concerns. So that's before the board tonight. And it's also still looming out there. Obviously, it's in place, the senior tax credit. What's still looming is how much will that impact us. Here in Saline County, assessment is slated to go up 15%. With the senior tax credit in place, though, it's hard for us to know how much that will impact us when. If it goes up 15% and seniors 62 and older have frozen their assessments, then we're going to lose 15% of everybody over 62 who froze their assessments, and that's going to happen this year in August when we set the tax rate. So these are more long-range impacts, but we're going to have to talk a lot more about them, and I'm definitely going to be asking for our student, or rather our teacher representatives, to help advocate for education as well. This is a national issue that probably seems like it's coming out of the clear blue sky unless you've watched any news channels, listened to any radio station lately. Just something I think it's important for us to make. Again, there's no political bias in what I'm sharing, but I think it's important to make a statement here. And I probably need to make a statement to our staff and let them know that they can rest easy because they're concerned about kids. But we've had a lot of calls, emails, conversation go on about our parents and community who might be concerned about what's going on in media right now with regards to immigration and customs enforcement. ICE, you hear it said is ICE a lot, and I just want it to be said, and I think the entire board, who I've come to know pretty well over these last 3 years, agrees with me. Marshall Public Schools is never going to do anything to surprise anybody, even if it's mandated from the highest office, right? So if there's anything going on with immigration that's going to impact students in Marshall, and anything gets communicated to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and they communicate it to Marshall Public Schools or any other public entity, we're going to make public statements, we're going to notify the board, we're going to notify our parents, because our first goal and our number one goal is to just take care of our kids. So I know that there's a lot of charged emotions out there for and against all the stuff going on politically. I just want to make a quick statement to say we haven't heard anything at Marshall Public Schools that's directly going to impact us tomorrow, next week, next month. And if we ever do hear anything, we will let the public know. We're not going to sit on anything secretive. And I think there's just some people that are a little worried. I just want to say that real quickly. So now we're going to pinball some more, unless you have any questions about that. Attendance, I don't have time to get into it as deep this month as I would like to. When you're looking at your principals' building reports, they're sharing with you their overall attendance, and they're also sharing, I believe they're almost all referencing it as 90-90 attendance. That's a state reference, but it's important for you to look at both. If you're just looking at their first attendance number, you're like, everything looks pretty good. But ultimately, for a social studies teacher version of math, 10% or so of our students are really holding our attendance as a district hostage. And the reason for that is, currently, when I looked at this the other day, 80 students in our district, we have 2,500 students, 80 have missed greater than 31 days. That's on the low end. 236 have missed between 10 and 20, and 436 have missed more than 5. When you start having that small group of students having that level of absences, it almost doesn't matter what 90% of the other students are doing, the way the state of Missouri holds us accountable for their attendance. So it's going to be something we talk about a lot more. There's going to be some policy changes coming with board input in relation to that, and I'll get more in-depth on that next month if time allows. IRS, I'm not going to read all this to you, but a few months ago I had to tell you that we had a penalty because we made a mistake. Last December, we had one of our accounts payable people left us around tax season. Our number one goal at that time was to comply with tax law to get our tax return information to our employees, and we were paying our payroll taxes within 48 hours. For those of us amateurs that were trying to hold it together during that time, we thought 48 hours was appropriate. Well, around 2,500 students, 24 hours is appropriate, and IRS kindly let us know that that was a mistake and that the cost of that mistake was $45,000. We just paid it a few months ago. I just told you, let's just pay it and dispute it later. Thanks to the third-party vendor that helped us through that period of time and helped us pay those payroll taxes within 48 hours, as well as Debbie Kaiser, our new accounts payable person, Grace Durham in her position. A lot of letters. We're getting all of it back minus $3,300, a much more digestible penalty, I feel like, for a mistake. And my now I know for sure advice to anybody if you have to deal with the IRS and a penalty is pay first and argue later. And it worked out pretty well for us this time, knock on wood. So hopefully it never happens again, but I'm glad to tell you that I didn't enjoy having to say that we had to pay a penalty like that, but I'm awful happy to tell you we got almost all of it back. Speaking of budget, this is directed by our governance plan. It is that time of year where I need to show you some survey data tonight about what's going on with certified salary schedules. I'm going to go quickly through that, but I just want you and our teachers and staff to see it so that they know. And some of these questions will come up in your board actions later. If the district could provide access to a workout facility or gym, this was a discussion with regard to our next project, and it was asked by the board last month, do they want us to own the gym or do they just want a discount to a gym somewhere else, Mr. Smith asked. And the answer to that is that there's a lot of interest to a workout facility. If it were a part of the employee package, they would like that. Green, yes. You can see. But would they care if it was one we owned or a discounted access to a different gym? We actually have a discount at a local gym in Marshall is the blue line. They would prefer to be able to continue being members where they already are. And then we had conversations with our wellness committee and said, well, what if we offered some financial incentive to help cover their membership in that gym, but we asked that they used it a certain number of times in order to receive it, which is then tracking our health and wellness. Our insurance would give us some money to help invest in that. And I think we're onto something here. So it not being a gym at the new facility is not a deal breaker. Anniversary pay, jumping from gyms to salary. The anniversary pay is something Marshall Public Schools already does to incentivize our employees who have been here for a certain period of time. And I believe it begins at 15 years, I believe. And the thing is, it's currently a separate salary. So we asked our employees, would you mind if we put that into the salary schedule on top of whatever increases we discuss and approve this year? Overwhelmingly, they were in favor of that. And also overwhelmingly, they weren't aware of that. So I think just putting it out there into the salary schedule as opposed to a separate stipend, I'm sure there was a good reason for it at one point in time, but it is not going to be opposed by our staff, is what they told us in this survey, to just incorporate it into the salary schedule. It also reduces human error because it no longer requires a special payroll. It's just part of the normal pay. Certified staff had a lot of responses about what their hopes were for the pay increase. Obviously, they all want to step in an increase, a bigger raise than last year. Continued insurance paid, classified needs have increased, they said, et cetera, et cetera. Tuition reimbursement's popular, and as I already told you, gym memberships is going to be popular. So I have to talk about this to tee up this whole salary season ahead of us, and I got to talk about salaries so we can talk about construction. But cost of living is something that came up a lot in our staff's input, and as the Board of Education, I think you have to consider the cost of living for our employees, and then you're going to have to consider the cost of operations for our school district, because Mr. Ranke has been having a blast doing tons of RFPs and sorting through tons of bids and working late into the night, and everything is going up, and all of that's being conveyed on to the customer, and Marshall Public Schools is a customer of many a vendor. So we've got a lot to consider. 2.5 to 3.5 has been the average increase for cost of living or from the Consumer Price Index the last few years, which has been going up extremely fast for Marshall. Some hard numbers for you, Jack, on this. Paper, probably going to need to budget 25% more next year for paper. Printing services, there's tens of thousands in any option you take to break it down into numbers, probably. Food service, possibly hundreds of thousands. And then there's the federal freeze concerns and discussions that go on. Are we going to continue to be funded federally? Is it in jeopardy, et cetera? We're aware of nothing being in jeopardy, but you got to pay attention, right? And make sure that something isn't changing. And then fuel costs, it's gone up about 100% in the last 5 years. We'll probably just go ahead and budget for another 25% next year. Our SAT, state adequacy target, in which the state reimburses education We were all very excited to see that adjusted last year. They are not meeting the SAT in what they're conveying in the state. They're down on their collections. So we are going to have to definitely think about our employees and their cost of living, and we're going to also have to think about our cost of doing business. But I think we have some priorities to set first. And I partly say this to the Board of Education tonight, and I partly say it so that the public can hear it and our teachers can hear it and give us feedback. But tuition reimbursement has been very successful in our trial last year with a few employees. And we have it built into the budget this year to give $45,000 in tuition reimbursement. I think that's working well. I feel that based on a lot of staff feedback, that's a priority we need to continue. I think gym memberships are not only something that is a retention and recruitment tool, but it's good for the health of our employees and possibly their families. A 2% increase to base, I think, is the bare minimum that we should discuss and look at giving as much as we responsibly can with all the considerations. And anniversary pay added. Here's one that I'll talk about more with the employees when I meet with them following tonight. But 403B and Roth IRA options, we have added that as a possibility for them. We've also started paying them out their surplus sick leave at the end of each year. And we want to now talk to them and explore what if we give you the option to roll it into a 403B or Roth IRA, which has some tax protections for that money for them. A lot of neat things like that I think we can do. Insurance benefits to drivers, we'd like to do it this year. And if our insurance goes up to the cap at 5%, we'd like to cover it. So these are some priorities I would present to you all to consider. And I'll keep getting more feedback from our staff to see if they like it too. Do you have any questions about that? Everybody still awake? Going as fast as I can. Let's start talking about Fund 4. I promised you before we talk about construction, we'll talk about Fund 4, how we pay for capital projects. And then once I've covered everything that could concern you, I'm going to ask and recommend for the board to vote in favor of some additional projects. Our Fund 4 reserves, I do believe that they need to be maintained. We've built them up quite a lot in the last few years. And until 2030, when the Spainhauer project is paid off, which will reduce those payments, it's not consistent every year, but up to $1 million a year. I think it would be wise to just hold those reserves because there's so many long-range funding things going on in the state that we don't know about. And so just to protect ourselves, that's going to be my recommendation. And it'll make sure SPS is paid for. Fund 4 collections for this year are just under 2.5%, which goes back to assessment values. It implies that assessments are probably not where the CPI says they should be, which is also what's being said at the county level, and I think they're going to increase them, which is great unless you lose everybody over 62. Anyway, I've already been there. I'm going to beat a dead horse. 2.5 to 3% is our threshold for collections. Raymond James forecasted those collections to be at a deficit this year, so I'm not concerned by the fact that we missed it, and knowing that it's going to be increased, I'm not concerned that we won't make it next year. In other words, all payments are secure from our Fund 4 accounts for the next 5 years on construction, and I projected them out 7, and I'm going to get into all those details if you guys will come to a special working board session on March the 5th. Any questions about that? Okay. One more thing before I talk construction. Let's talk about Benton and Northwest. Community forums have been held. We had, let's see, I'll keep it in front of me here. 15 to 24 people attended, 15 at one, 24 or so at the other. In our surveys for those two buildings, we had 75 and 55. And then at Eastwood, I wanted to mention, it is slotted to be torn down, but the city of Marshall is having a open work session tomorrow night for final input on that decision. If it gets torn down, we will need to do RFPs, and I'm budgeting $400,000. I budgeted that before I talked to you about construction to know that we're good.
Caleb, that meeting is actually postponed till the 18th.
It's postponed to the 18th. Okay, good to know. Thank you. I won't remember that later. You'll have to tell me again. Postpone, the city's meeting's postponed till the 18th. Okay. We are looking forward to hearing that, because if we don't have to tear it down, that $400,000 comes right back towards our project goals, because right now I don't have it. Benton, should the district sell it? Overwhelmingly, the blue is yes. What they never want to see become of it, very similar to what we saw with Southeast, same kind of feedback. One difference, majority would not tear them down, and then Benton's case, they wouldn't tear it down even if it were to build houses. That was one of our questions. So that is not what we heard about Southeast. Same things they don't want to see happen. Some things they do, it was said in both surveys, get the most money you can out of it, give it to the library, make a park or business, maybe a block for Habitat for Humanity. With both buildings, there's a lot of input saying do something for the community. With Northwest, same question, should the district sell it as it is? Blue was yes. Again, a lot of support to sell it, not tear it down. Things they never want to see happen, pretty much exactly the same. Things they liked, give it to childcare group, use as middle income apartments, make a community center. Majority would not tear down if it were to build houses at Northwest. I mean, I had those flipped, I'm sorry. And the other one they would if it was to build houses at Benton, sorry. So, if there's no questions, here's going to be my recommendation, and it's a board motion to come. I'm going to recommend that based on our board policy, we secure a realtor, which is in your business tonight. I'm going to recommend, and these numbers are just my recommendation, you guys can guide me in that in the month ahead, but I'm going to recommend that we list Benton for sale based on what we sold Southeast for versus what we actually profited once it was all said and done. I'm going to make a soft recommendation of $65,000. The house next door to Butterfield, I recommend you list for $222,600. That's all your costs in contracts and the building trades work that has been done. And with all of them, I would recommend, based on the precedent we set with Southeast, that we establish deed restrictions based on the community input. One of those deed restrictions I would recommend be first right of refusal. And should there be entities that want our buildings for something that's good for the community, and the board feels so inclined that they want to see it go to those causes, we still have to list it. We still have to hear the proposals as they come to us, in the order that they come to us, I believe. And then if we donate it, I think it would be, again, my recommendation, your decision, that we ask for around $10,000 if we're going to give it to an organization, because we have a lot of lawyer fees tied up in them and other costs associated with them. So that isn't to make money, that's to get out without losing it. Now, not tearing those buildings down, I am really relieved that that is the community's wishes from a budgetary standpoint, because there was hundreds of thousands of dollars that was going to take to tear each of them down. And yet I do want to honor this community's wishes, who have supported the school district quite a lot in recent years. And there's some good ideas that came out of all of that. So I'm glad to see that we may not have to budget for that. And just a biased goal for our maintenance guys and our custodians who all work so hard, I just really don't want them to have to cut the grass. They've got a lot of other things to do this summer, so I'm relieved by that as well. Saves us time, budget, and RFPs. Any questions about that? Told you I was going to talk about construction. So I'm finally getting there. I felt that you needed to hear all that for me to get into the final things. So the nuts and bolts of where we are with money, and I'll talk about the silo image in a minute. But in our investments that we have for construction, to date, we have $1.8 million worth of interest that we've earned on those proceeds returned to us, which is great. We've avoided arbitrage at every single turn, although we do have to make sure we pace ourselves for a little over $8 million by May to avoid the next arbitrage deadline. I don't think we'll have a problem with that. Those payments just are getting a little bigger and bigger as we're getting towards the end of the project. But that, on top of the contingencies that were built into the contract with Nabholz and all the things that Mitchell explained for how lucky we are to see that ahead of schedule and under budget. And as they've said in their words, I'm going to steal, we're past the scary parts where things sneak up and bite you. We're not in the ground anymore. We're paving on top of it, safer. We should have in the ballpark of 1.2 million there. Then I'm really trying not to calculate this, but we have utilized a ton of attrition in the district. And I say this number conservatively, and I'm including new positions that were created over the last few years. About $750,000 in our annual expenses for salaries has been reduced through attrition and closing what we already closed to consolidate. $1 million in operations were reduced when we closed Southeast, the trailers, Tudor, the Hoot House, and all the mileage and utilities that have been reduced through that. Again, very conservative figure. And there's more to realize if we're able to get transportation, maintenance, and all those energy efficiencies consolidated as well. Not to mention the surplus in operations. So the silos, another metaphor, I guess, that I like to speak in metaphors too much. But when you have everybody operating in these individual silos, maintenance is over here, transportation's over there, they all have things and needs. They need forklifts, they need skid loaders, they need tractors, they need trucks, they need trailers. There's been too much of, I need it in my silo and you can't have it in your silo, not because we don't have wonderful people, but because you need it on that side of town and they need it on the other. The more we get them in one place, that new skid steer that you all just bought for them can be utilized by two groups, and it just reduces silos. And the less silos, the less overhead. And it's very truly simple. And we realize that already in the things we have closed. So it's a pretty building, but you got to have the right money. And I believe Jack, I believe this might be a feather in his hat, but also mine. He's given me a hard time on how conservative I've budgeted since I've been here. And so for me to say and not be swayed by just the pretty building, but the understanding of a big number like what phase 1 and phase 3, which I broke down for you last month, and what it costs, but the realization that I genuinely and 100% feel comfortable to tell you we can afford phase 1 and phase 3. That's represented here with modifications based on your input last month. It represents, specific to Nabholz, $2.6 million, which seems like a lot, but I assure you, you're gonna realize that through operation costs very, very quickly. So to break, now we can get into those if you have any questions, but I wanna get to the specific money. We have $3.2 million in savings on construction that I am comfortable to ask you to spend. We also, when we got that money from our levy, said we would do so with regard to this project, things surrounding this project and things surrounding safety and security. So we not only have it to spend, but we are required to spend it. We can't just put it in the bank and let it draw interest. We have an obligation to spend it for what the voters approved it for. Phase 1 and 3, including design costs from the architectural firm, is $2.8 million. We have a buffer. So if that rubble pile that's back there needs to be spread out and moved someplace, potentially some of the finishes, et cetera, need to come into play. And this is why I'd like to ask for a special work session with the board to get into the details. But for tonight, I'd like to ask for the phase 1 and phase 3, $2.8 million, and urge you to remember our long-range facility plan, because it isn't a rash decision. Those phases are exactly what we've set as our priorities. It's the outside of those buildings, and it's the parking lots and perimeters around them, and trying to make sure that we have our nice new school sitting next to other things that look nice. Otherwise, we'd have a pretty disheveled looking couple of kind of buildings, I'll call them, if we don't finish them up. That work session, March 5th, 5 or 6 p.m. as we work out, I'd like to ask you guys to do that if we could, and we'll go further and discuss any other priorities we have and budget that we need to understand. But I think spending this money right now will ensure significant operating efficiencies. And the reason with everything going on at the state level doesn't concern me long range is I know if we get this done now, we will operate more efficiently later. And that'll help us with salaries and other costs down the road. Any questions about that? I either answered them well or you fell asleep a long time ago, understandably. That's all I have.
No, it's going fine.
Thank you very much.
These are better numbers than I hoped.
Okay. That is all. Thank you.
All right, moving back to the agenda. The first thing on is to talk about shipping and receiving maintenance building phases. Mr. Pettit just talked to us about phases 1 and 3, and he came up with around a $2.8 million price tag on those phases. That would be the facade of the building that was shown by IDS as well, and then also the groundwork, earthwork, and concrete work as well that would be surrounding that area, correct?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Green isn't here tonight. She also spoke with me earlier, and she is in favor. If anyone's curious about her opinion, that is also on the board here this evening, so.
I'll make the motion to approve the shipping, receiving, and maintenance building phase.
Second.
Third.
It's been moved and seconded and has additional support. Is there any conversation or discussion? There's also been some discussion about also finishing up this work with some of our through the Career Center and with some of our building trades people as well, after we got the hard work done on the outside of the facade. Hearing none, and Harry hasn't asked me to call a question tonight. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? We had some Realtor service contracts that were brought to us. There were a couple that were given to us in the last couple of months. The low Realtor contract for us, I can't say the percentage on that, correct?
2%.
Okay. Was at 2% on that contract, and that would be my recommendation. And hearing anyone else, we can go from there.
Who's this with?
That would be Michelle Pointer representing us, who's also the head of the Realtor group here in town. We had 2 contracts, Michelle and Jacob Phillips, and both of them discounted their interest rates. Michelle's was the lowest of the 2. But I appreciate both of them being willing to do that.
I move we accept Michelle's contract.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the contract. I believe it's is it Knobby Creek?
I don't remember, sorry.
Knobby Oaks.
Knobby Oaks.
Read a lot of stuff this month. Knobby Oaks at 2%. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Recusing? MSBA policy updates, that was their Appendix F. I believe there were 17 different policies in there. There were some cliff notes that Mr. Pettit sent out for us. It was quite a long read if you took the time to read those as well over the last couple of months. But there is nothing really out of the ordinary with those, and they are still in line with what we do as a district and very minor changes to some of them.
Move we accept.
It's been moved by Mr. Shepherd. Is there a second? Mrs. Staley? All those in favor of accepting the policy updates as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same. Under new business, as Mr. Brett alluded to, there's been some looking back into our books quite frequently over the last few months and years through Grace and some of her work. We need to make a transfer of $716,026.51 from Fund 2 into Fund 1. This will not change anything with teachers' salaries or pay. I know sometimes when you talk about Fund 2, people get nervous, but it will not change anything with how our cash flows are operating and our payment to our teachers.
I move we transfer $716,000 from Fund 2 into Fund 1, 26.51, all the numbers.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Carroll and seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor of the move, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next, resolution opposing open enrollment in public education. This was in our packet as well. This just says that as a Board of Education that we would be opposed to this within our area. There are a little bit over 600 districts within the state of Missouri. As Mr. Pettit said, roughly a third of them have already adopted this type of proposal within their districts. And doesn't mean that we're going to stop anything. It just means that we believe it wouldn't be best for our students and our situations as they would be in our surrounding districts as well at this time. It has unknown implications to us, and it will be a hot topic for us to keep discussing moving forward.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Those in favor of the resolution opposing open enrollment in public education, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Next, on our consent agenda, we did talk briefly, there was some information about IDS and additional phases of work. Of course, this will be on the shipping, receiving, transportation, and maintenance building, where they've kind of given us some rough drawings, diagrams. I'm sure I'm not going to say all the correct terms for you, but this will allow them to move forward to finish the design on the project that we're looking at completing.
So moved. Second.
Yeah, 8%.
It's been moved and seconded, and there is that number is 8%. For those of you who are wondering what that actual financial implication was going to be.
Thank you. What is the agreement?
It's 8% of the construction costs. So when I said it was 2.6 million, and then I changed it to 2.8, it's already included in the number I gave you. But it's 8% of any phase of construction we elect to do.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification. Call question.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry, I didn't hear the motion be made there. I was asking something
Did
else.
we have them? Did I call too soon?
No, you were fine. Next is to set our summer school dates. It is 20 days in June. That calendar was in there with the exact dates, but I do not remember what those are at this time.
What are the dates?
It's 20 days in the month of June. Usually it is the first Monday. They run 4-day weeks, and it would be a Monday through Thursday through June. Mr. Pettit's on the numbers, and I was stalling a little bit to get there, so.
Yeah, and it's in your board packets. It's approximately the 25th of June, and then 4-day weeks, 20
I'll
days
make the
later.
motion.
It's been moved by Mr. Carroll and seconded by Mrs. Staley to set the summer school dates. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
One good thing about your voice is that closed ought to go a lot quicker because you're not going to be able to make any speeches.
You say you want a speech with lots of numbers and closed? I'll work on it.
Moving down to the ribbon cutting date. We're looking at Thursday, August 14th at 9 a.m. to do a ribbon cutting and dedication of the intermediate school at the North Campus.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we set the date of August 4th. All those in favor, August 14th at 9 a.m. All those in favor?
Aye. Are you guys all comfortable with that?
Got to get done early, huh?
Mitchell said he should be well off the campus that day, right? All right, come back and make breakfast. Sounds fantastic. We appreciate that, sir. Okay. Moving down to set all-day pre-K tuition for staff at $30 weekly, non-staff $60 weekly, and additional $30 for professional development childcare days to support our staff even further.
So moved.
Yeah. So moved.
Yeah. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We need to add a fourth grade title teacher position. This has to do with the amount of students that we'd be having through grade fluctuation and support.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And lastly, we'll be looking to list Northwest Benton and the 1304 Highway WW properties for sale, which is the property next to the Butterfield campus. Here. It has been moved
Second.
and seconded. Mr. Shepherd, Mr. Carroll are on it tonight.
Call question.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstaining? Thank you. Next, there were several things that Mr. Rinky brought to us as our first reading. That was our food service provider, printing contracts, our technology management. Also, we're going to be looking at surplusing some additional furniture as it comes up in the next few months. And also, writing project. Do we need to vote on that? That's for a first reading as well, which was in your packet as well. That is a very interesting thing that we'll be happy to be talking about upcoming as well. Need a motion to adjourn to closed session. We will be meeting to talk about lease, purchase, or sale of real estate, hire and firing of particular employees, preparation for negotiations with our employees and contracts, specifications for competitive bidding, and personnel records that are personally identifiable.
Make a motion, we adjourn to close.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Staley. Ms. Staley?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Ms. Valens? We'll be moving to closed session. Thank you.